Welcome, dear students, to our writing session today. Today's writing session is about a legend. Now, the objectives of this session is that to recognize the difference between legend and myth, to apply the features of legend on the below link, and then finally to know how to write your own legend after watching the video. So you can watch this link video and then make a pause to watch it carefully. Then we can go back in order to explain everything in details. Then finally, after finishing the PowerPoint presentation, you can re-watch it in order to apply every element of the elements and features of writing legend on this video. Now, welcome back. Now, today we are going to focus on writing myth and legends, the difference between both of them. First of all, what's a legend? Now, you can read with me every single point on the left side, and you can imagine from the photo which is on the right side the type of character, the time, the place, and even the plot that you can draw it in order to draw the incidents in chronological order. Now, set in the present or recent past, are supposedly true and used to scare, teach, inform, or entertain. May be based on true events, but are changed or exaggerated over time. Handed down from generation to generation, usually through an oral history. Explain why a natural occurrence occurs. And we will get into details for these points. I will give you an example. Like King Arthur and Knights of the Round Table. Now, possibly based on an actual person or even several people in ancient Britain. Stories were told, retold, exaggerated, changed, and added to over hundreds of years, and used to teach moral lessons about chivalry. Now, what does it mean? Now, the type of King Arthur, if you surf on internet and write this type of example as a legend, you're going to find it in different publications. You will find different versions, which means that it's already told and retold and exaggerated and changed, and added to over hundreds of years. Now, what's the aim of it? What's the main target of this legend? It's used to teach moral lessons. A moral lesson. Okay, do you remember moral lesson that we covered in previous week? And the difference between long-term moral lesson or its short one according to the situation that happened at the time or on the spot. So here it's a moral lesson about chivalry. Okay, chivalry means when you have the characters are using swords, shields, and to be brave enough, also can ride horses and to get into a battle or a war through such these elements and tools. Okay, and now, in order not to forget and to get confused between myth and legend, let's now talk about what's a myth, and then you will find the difference between both of them in order to know the features of each one of them. Now, myth means a traditional or legendary story, usually concerning some hero or event that people believe is true at the time. Usually contains non-human characters like gods, demons. Okay, do you know the difference between gods as capital letter and small letter? Yes, capital letter as God, almighty power that we all believe in. But gods in small letter, it means that it belongs to long years ago when people started to even believe in different types of gods. They can think that a cow could be a god, any type of statue could be a god, and so on. and demons means devil. Now, so first of all, it's a traditional story, and the characters, they are non-human characters, and it explains some practice, right, phenomena, or why something is the way it is. Okay, what's the difference now between both of them? Now, Pandora's box. Do you remember Pandora's box? That you read it with the teacher in Harder book? You are going to think about how evil came into the world. So as if that evil is the character of the story, and the evil here means the devil or something wrong that happened and it already occurs and came into the world. Do you remember Pandora's box? You can go back to Harder book and you can start to read the paragraph or the text of Pandora's box, and you will recognize that the box of Pandora, okay, when it was opened, evil came into the world. So here it's not a real character. This is exactly the myth. Another example, Orpheus, your reader of term 2, and you complete it with your teacher nowadays. Myths do not need to have happy endings. In fact, most of them end very, very badly. Okay, so here Orpheus is an example of myths. Okay, when you start to write your myth or legend, what should I do? What should I have to do? First of all, choose something from the class map that your myth or legend will explain. Choose a character. We said in myth, it will be non-human being. In legend, it will be human. Okay, complete a story map or planning sheet. I mean the story map that we focused on in the previous session, elements of story, and you start to write the exposition, the rising action, the conflict, climax, and so on. So you will start to write this story map to plan it. Then the solution of your story should explain how the item from the map you chose came to be. Then now you start to begin your writing. Okay? So when you start to write, you have to think about all of these elements before even writing your story, whether the story will be a myth or legend. Okay. Now, to wrap up what we covered in the previous week and this week as well, to know the difference between myth and legend, if you have this type of writing, when the teacher asks you, please write a myth or write a legend. In myth, your character as non-human being should have supernatural powers, like for example having a stick that change the lady into a beast, or for example vice versa. And your myth should explain how or why something in this world exists. When for example I have the witch who changed the character into a beast, and this beast, or a dragon or a dinosaur, something like that. So of course there is objective or the target of changing it into this type of non-human being, as to change the world, as to spread something, as to teach the real people, for example, a moral lesson, something like that. Legend, your character as a human being should have realistic human qualities, being loyal, being honest, okay, one of the human beings' features or qualities or characteristics. Your legend should explain something or teach some kind of moral lesson. And now, as we said before, the difference between myth and legend. Now remember that the character of myth should be non-human being, having one of the supernatural powers. Like, for example, when the character is like a witch and then change the lady into a dragon, into a beast. And bear in your mind that this kind of changing has already a target in order to be existed in such that way. Then you have the legend, the character, which is who is already a human being, having one of the qualities or features of human being, like being loyal, honest, and so on. And there should be a moral lesson after discussing this point, or teach a moral lesson that we have to gain it at the end of legend story. This will be clear, for example, here in our this will be clear in our story, okay, that you read on page 79. So reread it, and also the part of the escape on page 80. So you are going to find the application of legend features on such these 2 pages. You read them already with the teacher. So after reading them, you are going to watch the video again that I already put the link of it in the first slide. This is already a story or a legend, and you are going to watch it. Jot down the story map. I mean, you will write down the characters, the setting, you will write down the climax and everything, and try to write your own legend about the same story, about the same legend that you watch it in the movie. Bear in your mind such these guidance while you are writing your legend. Okay, read them carefully, then send your assignment, please. Thank you. Have a nice day.